Alright, I'm going to help you get started on your data table for this. So the first thing you do, if you look at the handout I gave you last time that shows you how to make data tables and graphs, that's a great thing to refer to. You're going to take the data on the Graphing Practice 2 handout and you're going to make a data table out of it and a graph out of it. So first thing you're going to do is draw two lines across the top of your data table. Draw a line a third of the way down. Remember, this has to be ruler neat. So it has to be using a ruler, make it as neat as possible. The volume of the windsurf board is the independent variable. That's where your independent variable goes. Dependent variable goes over here. Notice I put units. Title would include the two variables plus some additional detail. Put a line through that box. 4 trials and an average if you look at the data. Then draw the lines down. Put your experimental groups, the number of times they change the volume of the windsurf board, down here. Then draw your lines. Just plug in the data and average it. And so when you're all said and done, it will look like that. Notice I rounded my averages to whole number since the data was taken to whole number. Next thing you're going to do is graph that. Okay, now we're going to take the data and that you collected and record it. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge a mistake. In the upper right corner, I have that data table on the screen, and I accidentally rounded to tenths. That should really be rounded to whole number like I showed you on the previous screen. Okay, let's go through it real quick. Volume, independent variable, always goes on the x-axis. Don't forget units like I have there. Speed goes on the y-axis with units. Had to come up with a scale that would stretch out as far as it possibly could. Had to get up to 120. If you try different scales on here, you're going to find out it's easy to go over. I think if you count by if you count by fives, I think you end up with 120 off the page, if I remember right. So the way we solved this problem is we skipped every 3 lines and counted by 20s. And that worked out really good, and you end up having the 10s and the 30s and the 50s just at the midway point where I have those little tick marks. So that's a great scale to use there. Y-axis. Oh, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. You'll notice I crossed some stuff out in the upper right corner of the data table. It's because I wanted to emphasize to you that now that we have trials in here, you are not including the trials when you graph. It's just the volume, which will be your X value, and the average, which will be your Y value. Those are the pairs that you're graphing. Then I got ahead of myself. So then came up with a scale, basically counted by 2s. I didn't write the 2s and the 6s and the 10s. I just skipped a line. So every other line counting by 4s or every line counting by 2. Good scale for that. Fits all the data we need. Then added my data points. You'll see my data points got squished up there onto the actual table, but it should give you the idea. And then best fit line, taking an average of those data points, looks something like that. You already have a title on this page, so you don't have to add an additional title since the title's with the data table.